A good night of Shabbos, Chazoin. Every Yid is shown the Beis Hamikdash this Shabbos, and we need to capitalize on it. But first, yesterday, Vav Sivan, the Chayzer of the Rebbe, the Mashpia, the Chassid Rabbi Yoel ben Rabbi Rafal Nachman HaKoyen Kahan, passed away. He was 91. He was our Mashpia, he was my Mashpia. And more than just being a regular Mashpia of a class of students, I had a personal relationship with him, especially in my formative years. So I want to share a few things, Li'ilu Nishmasoi, L'Zeicha Nishmasoi, to learn from, to work with, and to continue the teachings that he taught. When I was a bacher, it was a time when, I'm talking now about the late 1970s, 76, 77, 78, 79, and Lubavitch, Chabad, was in its full glory. And at the time, for whatever reason, there were communal issues that caused strife, particularly between Lubavitcher and Satmar Chasidim. And it was a very difficult time. And later in the 80s, it kind of spilled over where the Litvish of Bnei Brak, Rabbi Shach and the Ponovich, gave Lubavitch and the Rebbe a hard time, you could say. And I don't want to talk about this now, or maybe ever, although I've written about it in a respectful way. But it's a time now where, towards the end of the 9 days, with Mashiach's birthday on Sunday, Tisha B'Av, it's a time of Abbas Yisrael. It's a time of looking for what we have in common, rather what our differences are. Rabbi Yoel, all the Fabrengens that I was at with him, and all the Shiurim, not just I, we, Talmidim, he never spent time on putting down others and belittling others. Yes, once in a while he would make a comment about this shita or that shita, but it was coming from a healthy place. Ein deyaseyim shavis. Our opinions are different. The Gemara says that. So we never walked away with that this mashpia is like, he really doesn't like this group of Chasidim, or he really doesn't like these Litvaks, or these Sfardim. That wasn't his conversation. He was above that, totally above it. And I want to tell you another thing. Even amongst Lubavitch Chasidim and Russian Chasidim, older Chasidim, and I sat at their Fabrengens, and I knew many of them, and had discussions with them. Some of them, had this old axe to grind, Chasidim and Misnagdim and things like that. Rabbi Yoel was raised in Eretz Yisrael. He came there when he was 5 years old in 1935. And from 35 to 50, he learned in the Lubavitcher Cheder in Tel Aviv, and then in the Mesivta, and then in the Beis Medrash, right? The equivalent of what today is Cheder, Mesivta, and Beis Medrash, elementary and high school. And his teachers and his friends were all such that they weren't into pettiness. I spoke to them, and they told me this. I spoke to friends of his. Their Rosh Hashiva Mashpia was Reb Shoel Brook. Reb David Povarsky was a Rosh Hashiva, going Reb David Povarsky, who later became Rosh Hashiva in Ponevezh, was first Rosh Hashiva in Chabad, in Treim Chet Mimim, in Tel Aviv. The culture was one of sophistication. And I don't mean sophistication with gaiva, with ego and conceit. I mean healthy sophistication and Yiras Shamayim. Reb Yoel was trained in that environment. Now, his father, Reb Rafal Nachman HaKoyen Khan, known as Reb Folia Khan, was a very Hasidic Yid and a big Yiras Shamayim. And Reb Yoel had a mother and a father. His mother was Rivka. She was a daughter, one of 4 girls of the Rav, of Rav Davidson. And they say that his genius head came from his mother. That's what they say. And his Chassidischkeit and his warmth and his Yiras Shamayim came from his father. Both, of course. We're talking about what each one emphasized and was known for and lived with. So this is the one who taught the entire generation of rabbis, shluchim, and leader of Lubavitch that all of you know today. They are his students. One by one, they're all his students. He started teaching as a mashpia in 1954 at Lubavitch Yeshiva High School, Mesivta, in 1954, and he's been teaching his entire life till recently. So, in a way, all of Chabad comes because this one individual was able to share a message of emes and avas Yisrael. And that's why I am sharing this on this particular history clip, because it's so important to know that you could be a teacher with an axe to grind, and then your students walk away with it. And when they walk away with it, they're going to teach their students and their children and their future generations the same message. Or you could be a teacher that leaves the student and students with the message of elation, sophistication, sincerity, looking for the higher Eibishter, not, yeah, you said, I said, what did he say? Like, my father is stronger than your father, my Rebbe is greater than your Rebbe, what did this Litvish say and this Misnagid say? Throw that all out. Throw it all out. It's a past. Now it's a time to live with higher goals. And we see that in the last 20 years, since Gimel Tammuz, Reb Yoel went to see the Belzer Rebbe, and he went to see Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and he went to see Rabbi Steinman, and he went to see Reb Povarsky, and the list goes on. And once in conversation, he said, what was. Now we have to focus on the what we have in common. So I just conclude this Erev Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos, posting for all of you that we're going into Shabbos Chazoin. There's no question that Yoel wants every one of us to go with Simcha, and the best thing for his neshama is to focus on only positive things and to learn Chassidus, teach Chassidus. This is something that he dedicated his entire life. There was no gashmias, materialism, nothing. He didn't have money. He didn't know what money is. He didn't know what food is. I don't mean literal. I mean to say that it wasn't typhus him. It didn't become important to him. What became important to him, what was important to him, was teaching Torah, teaching the Rebbe's Torah to every single Yid in a way that every Yid can feel comfortable learning Chassidus, learning the Rebbe's Siches and Maimorim, following directives. And now, especially now, post Gimel Tammuz, his emphasis was that the Rebbe although physically passed on, he's here with us, directing us. And if you need a bracha, the bracha is available, just like it was B'chayav when he was alive. The Eibush to helfen, V'kitzer Rana Sheikh Naofer, Reb Yoel ben Reb Rafal Nachman HaKoyen Kahan, should together with Klal Yisrael be zeichet to the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. And again, I share with you with what Reb Avram Paris said, who Mashiach is, I know. What I don't see yet is the Beis HaMikdash. Rabbi Isai, we need to see the Beis HaMikdash, not just Beruchnius, but Gashmius. We'll be zeichet to see it, and therefore we won't fast, but rather celebrate the birthday of Mashiach, as the Gemara said, Noilad Mashiach Shal Yisrael on Tisha B'Av, and we'll go together with everyone, B'tchiyas HaMesim, L'kabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, B'Yerushalayim Min HaKodesh, Amen v'Amen.